Fox College, the number one college football show, which is a Fox Sports podcast. He's also a Fox College football analyst. He joins us here on Fox Sports Radio. RJ, let me get your sense of what the heck's going on at Tennessee with their quarterback, or now former quarterback.
Former quarterback, indubitably. Like, this is a divorce that is finalized, and he has entered the portal, and it seemed like after he entered the portal, the market that he expected to be there disintegrated beneath him overnight. And right now, it feels like the only program that he's trending toward is UCLA. But as with all things Nico Iamaleava the last 4 days, until we see such a time that everybody involved has announced that he is going to transfer to wherever it is he's transferring, we're going to treat it as if he is one of the best talents in the portal with the most baggage.
Okay, but he has a do not contact on his portal page,
Correct.
which usually means something's already done. I think that the issue that Tennessee has is like, hey, we had an agreement, and then you wanted to sit out, right? There wasn't they didn't have an agreement and he was working without a contract. It was they had an agreement. He thought there was more money to be had out there, so that's why he sat out. Is that correct?
That's correct. And there's even reporting to suggest that he and others at Tennessee were threatening to sit out the playoff game against Ohio State. Now, at the time, there were big rumors about A's team having a group of players that might threaten to sit out based on NIL, but it came to nothing as everybody played. And then as Darren Mensah gets $8 million for 2 years to transfer from Tulane to Duke, the market resets. John Mateer gets in the range of $3 million to go to Oklahoma. Carson Beck in the range of $3 million to go to Miami. And I think Nico's camp was thinking that he's being underpaid given what the market has already done, because at the time, he signed a contract, 3 years, $8 million. It's going to pay him $2.4 million this year. And that's just a total misreading of his value to Tennessee, thinking that they need him more than he needs them. And to time it right now at a point where you can't afford to lose your starting quarterback felt predatory. So that's it. He wanted more money, and he's already getting $2 million, and he already made $2 million for last year. It felt really greedy and terrible on everybody's skin, because there's one thing we know about the SEC is they will spend money, but they are not going to allow you to be obnoxious about that. And that's what this felt like. Once you miss practice, you're being obnoxious, and there's no turning back. Everybody wants to divorce by then.
What does the landscape of NIL look like in the SEC, in the Big 12, in the Big 10 in the year to come?
I don't think much is going to change until we get House versus the NCAA settled in a way that Judge feels okay. So right now, the numbers are only going up, right? People are getting as much as they can right now. Now, I also believe that we're going to try to get closer and closer to something like a above-board NFL-style model where we pay a slot value, right? So, for instance, if you're using the franchise quarterback tag in the NFL, this year at $20.5 million, you're thinking your quarterback's worth about $3 million, and that might be what you're doing on an annual basis. But I think the contracts are not going to be multi-year anymore. I think they're going to be 1 year. I think that the price is going to continue to go up, and they're going to find ways to continue to try to pay these players that they really want to be there. Now, that said, everybody wants an Arch Manning, right? Everybody wants a guy who's number one in the class, who's outstanding talent, and who has said nothing at all about money involved. Everybody else does that for him, and not once has he threatened to leave Texas. Not once has he wanted to be anywhere other than Texas. So if anything, you're probably going to get these loyalty agreements attached, termination clauses attached, buyout clauses attached, looking a lot more like coaches' contracts than anything else. As a matter of fact, Doug, you might have some better insight about that than some of the people that are reporting on this, because you'd be looking at these things. But that's how I think it's going to go. I think we're going to try to get a little bit more cut and dry in our NIL agreements and make them annual so that everybody gets an opportunity to leave if they want to, without us needing to go through this really interesting, for me, turmoil, but awful turmoil for the University of Tennessee and Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, the question is going to be, if you get a multi-year contract, can you get somebody to actually pay a buyout? Will it actually be binding? You know, that's the big question. And then the question is, can they do collective bargaining without making them employees, which is what I believe they think they can do, but they're trying to get to that place to where there's some collective bargaining there. Again, that's just what I've heard. It doesn't mean that it's fact. It is fascinating to see how this thing both evolves and devolves at the same time. R.J. Young joining us, number one college football show. He's the host of course, he's a college football writer, college football analyst as well. Okay, so what about Colorado? Look, Travis Hunter, I think eventually he retire his jersey. Shedeur Sanders, he did some really good things. He's going to be a first-round draft pick, but Colorado immediately turning around and retiring their jerseys seems like a bit much. I get just a bit much. But what's your reaction?
I can see it either way. If you're always going to do it, why wait is one of those things to say, especially as they're approaching the NFL draft and they're both invited to the NFL draft and we expect them both to be first-round picks. And Travis Hunter, I think you got to no doubt we're going to retire his jerseys just about win, right? Given what he means not just to Colorado but to the sport itself. Shedeur, a little less so, but that's the program's single season passing leader in touchdowns and yards. Flips a program from 4-8 that he was part to 9-4. We get that. But I think this comes back to the spring game itself. So I got some one-on-one time with Prime, and we talked about a bunch. But one of the things we talked about was how the NCAA's football oversight committee had scuttled this attempt by he and Fran Brown at Syracuse to have a intra-squad practice 3 days that would culminate in a spring game this Saturday. And the reasons that they gave for scuttling it feel weak. And he had told me, hey, look, you got two unapologetic black men who want to do this. Maybe we should have let other people do this first, but we still want to do this, and we want to try to do this. On the back end of that, he says, now I got to figure out how am I going to get people to come to Folsom Field to watch us play. I need to find something, one way or another, to get to the people that love Colorado football and give them an opportunity to say, this is why I'm coming to see. Perhaps retiring the jerseys was always the plan, but it feels like you're also trying to continue to drive interest to your spring game, which, frankly, Doug, I applaud him for. I like spring games. I get why people don't, and I see the reasons why we don't play them. But if you're going to do it, I would appreciate you doing it for something other than me watching a glorified flag football game. I would love to see somebody get honored for something worthwhile, and perhaps this might be the last time that many people get to see or interact with Shedeur and Travis for the foreseeable future, and I don't think that that is lost on many.
Pretty good point. Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Okay, you and I went back and forth over Oklahoma football. I said they were the most interesting team in the college football season just because I didn't think they were in anywhere equipped for the gauntlet that is the SEC. And you said, hey, listen, they know what they're doing. They put a bunch of money in the program. And I would say mixed results, but mostly negative results. This is a historically great program that was dominant within the Big 12. What's the current kind of status of OU football coming off of their first year in the SEC?
The hire of Jim Nagy was received in a way that I thought was wild. Okay, so I believe that Jim Nagy being the general manager at Oklahoma is one of the shrewdest hires that we've seen this offseason off the field, right? This is a man who has been in everybody's NFL locker room and most people's FBS Power 4 locker rooms. So he has had his eyes on more players that are good today, right now, for the draft and for college football than anybody else in America, I would argue. But his Q rating is through the roof. Brent Venables' Q rating is mid to trending downward, which I find ridiculous. But also, he's going to take over calling the defense, which is something we've always wanted him to do. And we know that he's one of the best to ever do that. You've got a new young coordinator and a promising quarterback. So it's cautiously optimistic. It's nothing like what I felt last year, which is, frankly, not for nothing. Me being Oklahoma, having this history that we had in the Big 12, I'm expecting us to be what Texas was last year, not the other way around. And my goodness, could it not have been more twisted and ridiculous? Interesting, I think, is the way that you put it. But I was thinking, how do you beat an Alabama team that was once ranked number 1 in the country and beat Georgia with the same tools that you had, less the offense coordinator? And that is not something you can do week in and week out. Meanwhile, South Carolina had a great season. A&M damn near had a fantastic season. LSU pulled themselves out. Florida pulled themselves out. And I'm looking at Oklahoma down here with Auburn and Mississippi State, and I'm asking real questions now. So cautious, but it's spring, right? I give everybody the opportunity to be authentically happy about the prospect of them being good come August. But when August comes around and Oklahoma's got to host Michigan, we're gonna figure out a lot about Oklahoma football in the Big Ten, let alone the SEC. So I think your read on it ultimately is correct, right? It's one of those takes that in the moment hit me wrong. Given time, absolutely 100% on.
It's going to be interesting. It's so competitive. There's so much money, and all of the luster that you and I know over Oklahoma. Again, every year you get away from it, it doesn't resonate as much with the players. Now, may not matter as much with the players because at the end of the day, I think the bottom line matters most. But it's going to be interesting to see what season 2 is because you have to make an adjustment. Everything is different when you change leagues, especially step up in weight class like the SEC. RJ, great stuff as always, man. Thanks for being our guest. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Doug. Love you. Have a good day.
Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports.
All right, so we're going to leave talking with Doug really quick to just catch up a little bit on the Nico Iamaleava news that's in the headline. Colin Cowherd says that he has it on authority that Nico Iamaleava is headed to UCLA, and it ain't for much at all. I think right now you're looking for a place to land. You're looking for a place to play football. You're looking for a place to give you an opportunity to rebuild your reputation at a program that, frankly, has got its own really great heritage. I mean, you heard Doug and I talking about Oklahoma and how disappointed I was and how ultimately he was correct given some time. UCLA is another one of those programs that there was a moment in time when nobody wanted to truck with UCLA football. I mean, there's a reason why Troy Aikman transferred from Oklahoma to UCLA back in the day, and we know the legacy of Jackie Robinson et al. At UCLA. I don't know how good UCLA is going to be in the Big Ten this year, though. That's the thing. I think they're going to be somewhere around Washington, which is mid-level of an 18-team league that's stacked, right? You talk about Ohio State, you talk about Penn State, you talk about Michigan, and then Oregon might end up winning the league all over again, right? After that, we can have a discussion, but I think in that discussion, is UCLA going to be better than USC? Probably not. Are they going to be better than Arizona? Are they going to be better than Washington? Still in the Pac-12. Maybe, right? Are they going to be better than Rutgers? I hope so, because that's going to be bad. Are they going to be better than Minnesota? Wisconsin? Ooh. Illinois? Not at all. These are the things you're dealing with, but Deshaun Foster has an opportunity to go get a premier 5-star talent. Now, the question is Nico Iamaleava going to be more like DJ Uiagalelei after the transfer? Or is there something more to this dude that ought to think about playing volleyball?